Welcome everyone. We're doing Blender today. Look at that. So I've been doing CAD, software for ever. Started the channel with that back in what '09, I think it was something. So, anyways, CAD versus let's say visual effects, like this type of software, they are seemingly similar, but they're quite a bit different. And I think the problem in people's minds is when you come from a CAD background or any of the two backgrounds and you go for the other, they're really not the same. We're making 3D models, but how we go about doing it and the end goal purpose of the whole thing is often quite hugely different. So in CAD, we're going to be making a model and you would dimension it very accurately. You would take it to a CNC machine or a plasma cutter, laser cutter, or 3D printer, and you go make a part and you put it on a car or plane or something of that nature. Blender is more like you've made the plane and I want to look at the plane shooting through the sky in the clouds with the sun shining off of it, glinting off the windows, and maybe see the passengers all happy inside. We're going to do that in something like Blender because if you've ever played with adding some materials or doing anything in the Fusion 360, CATIA SolidWorks, it looks okay. It's kind of fun to play with, but it is definitely not photorealistic. Blender, 3D Studio Max, Maya, Modo, or just some of the ones off the top of my head I can think about. The current norm for probably a few years now, maybe even several years, photorealism is not hard to do, right? It's completely doable, and you can do it with Blender here in free open source software. So this piece of software, this system, is intense. It's amazing. It is absolutely massive. Okay, and so we'll hit on this as we go along the way, but just know that this is about you could almost say it's about art, but it's about model making and lighting and animation and things like that, as opposed to making a part to get manufactured. All right. So the first thing that I want to do here is just simply talk about how to get started. So this is not even going to be the interface. This is like precursor to interface. I've done the same thing in Fusion videos. I did the same thing in CATIA. I did the same thing in CATIA, the 3D Experience series I just started last year, before COVID and all that. So I want to talk about where you go to save preferences, change preferences, and in this system here, there's actually a couple different places you can go to set up your world. And I would like us to have our world to be kind of similar if you're going to play along with me, okay? So right here is our splash screen, and every time they change versions, you're going to see right up in here some render that was made by somebody, and this is created in Blender. Sorry, I guess I should say a little tiny bit of this probably could be done. I don't want to say it was done in Photoshop because then everybody will go, yeah, see, you did it in Photoshop. They'll tweak some lighting a little bit and maybe do some color and enhancing a tiny touch and maybe Photoshop afterward in some post-processing, maybe, right? But this, all the modeling, the lighting, and material shading was done in Blender. Go check out some videos. By the way, right here, Aaron Dale, go check out him because he's got the videos of all this stuff on YouTube, okay? So, I want to keep this kind of short, so I'm gonna get kind of scooting along the way here. So I could pick one of these things I want to start with. I'll just tell you right now, hit general, because let's say we don't care. Those things that were there will bring you to things up here, essentially. I want to talk about this world, though. So we see this world. We get past the splash screen, and I want to start changing things around. Just because we saw the splash screen there, I think I want to talk about that in a second. It's not hugely vitally important, but it gives me a reason to go to preferences to show you how it works. Right now, you saw me just nudge this around. Quickly, movement, right? So what I'm doing right now is I'm holding down Shift and the middle mouse button, and I'm panning this around. If I just hold the middle mouse button in, I rotate. You CAD guys out here, and you go to try to make these little circles to rotate, you're going to get freaked out. It doesn't work that way. I would say that if you want to roll it around, grab it in pieces. I'm going to talk about that more in a second, okay? So rotating here with the middle mouse button, scroll to zoom, hold down Shift and then middle mouse button to pan. You cannot hold down middle mouse button and then Shift. It won't work. You have to hold down Shift first and then pan. That'll get you a lot, okay? So let's go play in preferences just for a second. There's really a couple things that I want to tell you about, but mainly that they're over here. So you go here to preferences. I hit this thing, and it goes to where you were last. But let's say we're looking at interface, and then right here we see splash screen. So do you want to see the splash screen or not? I don't really care. Well, no, I kind of do care because I don't want to see it. It's cute, it's wonderful. I like the thing. However, it's not necessary, and so a lot of us go ahead and get rid of it. And mainly, again, I just want to show you how it works. So I untick the box, and then what you have to do is you have to come down here and you have to save your preferences, which, as you notice, you could also load the factory preferences. Okay, so we're going to save those, and then I can close this. And now what I want to show you here is really quickly, I'm just going to close this down, not saving the model. This is not saving preferences. It's saying, do you want to save the model? No, I don't. I'll close that down, and then I'll just open it right back up again. And now you notice no splash screen. That's nice. That's really, really nice. I like that. You get right into it, because missing all that stuff in the front, like what if I want to do 2D animation or something? Yeah, well, you can still do that, right? But a lot of people, like I said, like to get rid of it. Now, let's talk about another thing to change in here, and it has to do with the motion. And you may never see this. It may never, okay, you probably run into it at some point in time, but you're rolling around, and you roll it around this way, and you roll it around that way, and everything seems to be pretty good. By the way, make sure you pay attention to where Z is pointing up, so you don't get things messed up or confused. Look at this right here. See this green line going through here? This is the Y-axis. I'm going to keep saying this, by the way, because I want you to memorize the colors as fast as you can. This is the Y-axis, this is the X-axis, and then there is a Z-axis that is blue, but you can't see it right now. That's going to be another thing we talk about. So watch the Y-axis. I want to rotate this around this X right here. So I grab a corner, grab a corner. Oh, nope. No matter what you do, you can't get it to rotate around that axis. And for me, again, coming from the CAD world where I've got this great freedom of motion, I was just like, what the hell is going on here? And it almost caused me to, flip out and not want to do this. Well, I'd say again, because I swear I started playing with Blender like when it came out and went nope, and then played with it some later and nope again. I feel confident now to tell you that this is a spectacular program nowadays, and I think it's probably been so for close to a decade. Watch this. So we go back to preferences, and I want to go to navigation, okay? And they have turntable, spinning on a turntable, or go to trackball. And by the way, when you change these, it just takes effect right now. If you wanted to save for the next time when you start, you better save your preferences. But look, you can tell already I'm tipping it, you see? By the way, you still can't do the little circles, but you do little short grabs. I would very much suggest that you get used to short little grabs. Grab it, grab it, grab it, grab it, grab it, grab it, right? And then hold down shift to move it a little bit. But now the thing is moving really nicely, okay? So I like that a lot. Since we're here, let me show you a different thing. So I'm going to go in here, and I want to rotate this around. By the way, I picked a point right here. How I specifically did this, don't worry about it right now. But I picked a point, and I go to rotate this, and it wobbles all over the place, right? And I zoom in. This is a thing I need to do quite frequently. I don't know how many other people always want to do this, but if I make a small little tiny feature on here, and I want to zoom in, and I want to roll around that feature, I got to talk about also what just happened there for a second. It's rolling, bobbling all over the place. So orbit around selection. If I pick that, whatever is selected, look at that, locks it right in. And my God, that makes your day easier. CATIA, it's a middle mouse click, and it does that. Fusion 360 is kind of wherever your mouse is, it sort of figures it out, kind of. Sometimes it messes up. But that is super nice, and it doesn't cause any harm by leaving it on, so just leave it there like that, okay? And that's all I want to do with preferences. But I want to show you really quick what just happened here when I zoomed in. Not the fact that I went inside the part, right? Because you can totally do that, and that's just whatever. But you see that I move in increments. As I scroll the wheel, every snap it moves so much. And you can change how your mouse reacts, but I just wanted to show you that if that's a little bit too jumpy because you've got, you're working on a small part or whatever, you just don't want to change it, hold down Control and then hold down. So this is kind of complicated. It's very similar to a way that CATIA works, actually. You hold down Control, hold in middle mouse button, and then push the mouse forward. And then it's on a smooth sliding dolly. So this is fabulous. Like if you just want to move around, it almost becomes kind of a default for me, you see? Okay. Great. Okay, so a little bit about motion, movement, preferences, and such. Now, so the next thing I want to get into is I want to modify a little bit more of my world. I have some things that I want you to do, but mostly also I want to say, where is this other save button at? So if I'm looking at this cube, and I said that there normally should be a z-axis right here cutting through the part, well, I can turn that on if I come up here, and all these little widgets and drop downs and menus and BS all over the place. My God, it's a lot to take in. And honestly, the answer to how you figure this out is just make lots and lots and lots of models. So you come up here and I hit Z, and now it turns on the Z axis. I can see why people don't like it, because we already know it's there, because if I got X and Y, then this must be Z. But for now, for getting started, I'd say go ahead and turn it on. So we get really used to it and we know which axis is which, and there's other reasons that are coming later, okay? So maybe I like that. So that's a change. If I were to shut this down, okay, I'll just go ahead and do it. If I were to shut this down, hold on. I want to make sure I come back here and save my preferences, because I'm not sure if I did or not. And I'll close this down. Don't save the cube. Start the thing back up again. And then when it starts back up, again, no splash screen, but I don't have the Z on here. It still does the right rotate because I saved my preferences, but the blue wasn't a part of the preferences, the Z axis. So I have to come back here and I have to do it again. Okay, so how do I save this? And I was very happy the day that I found out that I could do this. You can change like nearly anything. I can move windows around, add windows, and do things, and then I can save that look. Okay, so here's a thing that's kind of fun to do and kind of helpful also. So I could come here, we're on Studio. I'm going to go to Matte Cap is what they call this. And it just slightly changes the shading here a little bit if you look at that. That's not hugely important, but I like it. And the thing that I really like is down here is when you hit Cavity. If you notice that some of these edges here, there's sometimes if you turn them like right there, I can't see that edge anymore. It's just kind of hard to see until you reflect it around. So I can go to Matte Cap, well, it's in both areas here, but I can go down below and I can check Cavity, and now I get a little bit more highlight on that edge, and that is fabulous. I like that quite a bit. Okay, so that's basically the default state that I like it in, and so then all my parts end up looking like this. Everything I add onto this, every model I make, every little section that I pull out of this or do whatever to it will all have this look. It's not just this cube and I have to reapply it or something. Everything that I build here in this world now will have that on it, okay? Now I want to show you another thing here though, because you'll probably figure out at some point in time that I can click this little ball and then this pops up, okay? And then you go, ooh, look at that, shiny red, oh my God, shiny red. And it's beautiful, it's wonderful. And then you're going to go, well, okay, but how do I make it blue? I didn't want it to be red. The thing about this is not your material. I feel probably everybody does this in the beginning. They click on this and they're like, I want it to be a different material. This has a different purpose, and the material section, i.e. shading, is massive. That will be many, many, many videos on shading and how you create your different elements. So this is not that. So what is this? This is because as we start to edit our model and our mesh, that's going to be a word we're going to talk about a lot. You can see as I move the light around, it's so reflective. You can see the light source up here, which is up in the world somewhere here, that you can see it nice and clearly. And if I move it across the way here, that light doesn't distort at all. So I can infer, I can believe that this is a nice smooth surface, the same way that you would look at a car or some other thing that maybe you're doing some body work on, and you look down the edge of it, and if it's got a slight crinkle in it, you'll see the light change. That's what this is for. And also things like this. Like you'd say, well, what the good is the zebra stripes for? It's for what I just said. If there's any kind of distortion in that surface, you would see a ripple in these lines. So they are a tool, you see? But I like to set it to this one. Sometimes I like to set it to this one. I like the orange one too. It looks pretty nice, right? Kind of half-lifey. And that satin is nice because it's not so reflective that I 100% see that like light in the surface or up in the sky somewhere. I see this sheen going across and I can know, yep, that's a really great looking surface. So you do whatever you want. I'm going to set it back to the boring old gray cube. Potentially the more things it has to do light wise, it might weigh down your CPU a little bit, right? But anyways, I'm going to go back to this. And then if I want to save this look right here, I go to File. So not to edit preferences, I go to File. Come on, buddy. Okay, and then I go here and I say Save Startup File. You got to actually click it, so be careful. So I click this and then click that button right there. And now I just saved it. So now if I close this, and don't save the cube again, I didn't do anything I need to save, and I open it back up again, I've got my z-axis, I've got my matcap gray, and I've got the cavity outline right here as well, you see? So I think that is really great. That's basically the entire setup, you see, to get us going. We might change some things from time to time along the way, but if I do, then I'll say add in this other thing, and make sure you go and save your startup file, okay? I'll give you a last for example. As you build models in this type of software, the amount of triangles, the amount of polygons created here becomes an issue for what you need to use this thing for, be it a publication or a movie or a game. If you take some really super high detailed object, and if you were to look at this, it would have maybe 500,000 triangles in there, and you're putting this on a cell phone video game, that might make the video game crash, right? Especially if that was one rock and then you instantiate like 50,000 little rocks everywhere that all have perfect detail. It's crazy, right? So we want to think about what we'd say the cost or the weight of the object. And one nice feature we have is if you go up here and then you go to statistics, you can tick this and watch over in the left hand corner over there. I hit this and now I have some information. And this is not vital to what we're doing right now. It's just another thing you could save, right? And I can see that right now this thing has got 12 triangles. And that's because of reasons that we'll explain later. It's 6 faces, but there are triangles cutting through each one of the squares, okay? And so if I wanted to go into here and I wanted to pick maybe an edge right here, and I wanted to put a bevel on this, you see right over there, the triangle's now at 16, but watch this magic. Now it's 48 because I just made it rounded more. Oh, I want it more rounded? How about really rounded here? Now I'm up to 200 triangles and I had 12, I do this to all the corners, all the edges. It's going to be more costly, okay? So for now, that's it. That hopefully is going to be the longest of these sets of videos. And once we dig into this, it's going to be a little bit about a button or a command, and then we'll move on, all right? So hopefully this is intriguing. There are a lot of Blender videos out there. I just thought that this would be good because I would try to make this a little bit more linear than most and want to keep in the basics. There are a lot of add-ons, there are a lot of extra things you could do with this, and I wanted to just kind of stay with what they would call vanilla Blender and keep it slow, okay?